Welcome back into CBS Sports HQ, brought to you by Subway. So now that the NBA season is done, it is setting up to be a very interesting offseason. After making it to the NBA Finals in his 16 years in the league, what will Chris Paul decide to do when it comes to the Suns? Could he pick up the player option? They're a little strapped for cash there. But it's not just about the Suns and Chris Paul. There are question marks across the board. Kawhi and his injury. Will Kyle Lowry leave Toronto? So taking a look at some of the notable free agents here, we're about to ask our Rip Hamilton what he thinks may happen as the free agency negotiating window opens. It is just around the corner on August 2nd. Let's bring in our very good friend, Rip Hamilton. Rip, we're going to start with Chris Paul, 36 years old, makes it to the finals, came this close to winning a title to end up losing it. Now, after the game, he pretty much alluded he wants to stay there. He wants to try again. He has a very expensive player option. He could decline, sign a multi-year deal. What do you expect him to do?
Well, I know Chris Paul very well, man, and I know that he wants to play into his 40s, kind of very similar to LeBron James. So I didn't expect him to come out and say, hey, he was thinking about retirement. But I do think about, when you talk about his contract situations, I do know that he's been thinking about opting out of that player option and maybe getting a longer-term extension or longer-term deal. The guy's still playing at a high level. I know a lot of us look at his age at 36 years old, and we look at the number, $44 million. That's a lot of money to kind of opt out. But when you're Chris Paul, you're a guy that took this Phoenix Suns team that haven't been in the playoffs in the last 10 seasons, and your impact on the guys on the floor, not just from a scoring standpoint, but just your all-around impact to DeAndre Ayton's game. This guy done came into his own, now playing like an all-star. Devin Booker, teaching him how to lead by example and be a leader out on the floor. So I think his impact is more than just basketball on his team. Do I think the Phoenix Suns should try to sign him back, maybe for a 2-year or 3-year extension? Absolutely. I mean, this team has been incredible all season long. I do believe that they got to find a way to give him more of a break during the regular season, because as you seen in previous years, and especially this year, he tends to wear down if it's injury or, we don't know what it was this season, but you got to find a way to get this guy a rest, especially knowing that you have an opportunity to play late in the playoffs.
We'll call him a young 36. He just turned 36 in May. He's a young 36. Let's talk about Kawhi, arguably the best player on the list we showed you. He may never hit free agency. He also has a player option. Here's the thing with Kawhi. Of course, he's coming off that ACL surgery. So, Rep, does he stay with the Clippers? Does he look elsewhere? And overall, though, how do you think that injury is going to affect him and things?
Well, Kawhi did everything possible the last couple years ago to try to get to L.A., and I don't see him leaving. I do see this situation as a situation that, hey, you know what? He can make more money. He can opt out and get a longer-term deal. The knee injury, do I think it's going to impact him? I just don't. Technology is totally different. The doctors are way better than what they were back in the day, especially when you watch a player like Kevin Durant, who came off a knee injury. And when he performed in the playoffs, there was a lot of people saying that he's arguably the best player in basketball after coming off an injury like that. So Kawhi Leonard is a guy that plays below the rim. He knows how to get to his spots. He's a very smart individual. And you got to remember, this team still has another star in this team with Paul George. So it's not like he has to carry the load all season long. So I do see Kawhi coming back. I do see him signing a long-term deal with the Clippers. They need him. They don't want him to go anywhere, especially if they want to make a run for the championship.
All right, so far we got two guys staying there with Chris Paul and Kawhi. Let's talk about John Collins here, because of course he's on a team that went much further in the postseason than many of us thought. The Hawks there probably made himself some cash in the postseason. He is a restricted free agent. So how much do you think he can make, and do you see him staying there in Atlanta?
Well, man, the market is different. It's definitely different, way more different than I played. You heard him early in the season talking about that, hey, you know what, he wanted the max deal. And he really showcased that in the playoffs. This is a guy that has a great rapport, great relationship with a dynamic scorer like Trae Young. You put these two guys in pick and roll, this guy is willing to do all the little stuff on the floor. He's willing to give his body up for the team. He's not a guy that you have to run plays for. them guys are very valuable to your team, especially this Atlanta Hawks team when you got dynamic scorer like a Trae Young, a guy that's willing to put his body on the line. He attacks the offensive glass. His athletic ability allows him to guard multiple players on the defensive end. So I just feel as though that the Atlanta Hawks don't want to let this young kid go. So I do think that the Hawks are going to let him see what he's going to be able to get on the free agent market, because they can still match any offer out there. So I think that, like I said, the market's different. Yes, he can demand somewhere in the mid-20s, lower mid-20s, but I do believe that this kid is going to get paid.
Rip, one of the most coveted players that's on the market is going to be Kyle Lowry. We know when the trade deadline approached, we had the Heat, the 76ers, the Lakers, all teams that pursued him. Now reports the Pelicans are very interested in him. So does the six-time All-Star leave Toronto?
Yes, I do. When you look at this Toronto team, it's time for them to move on from the older guys and really do a better job of putting better players around Siakam, the Fred VanVleets, and the younger core guys on this team. Kyle is probably the most decorated player that played for this Toronto Raptors team. And, you know, when you got a relationship with management, they're going to do everything possible to put you in the best position if you decide if you want to stay or if you want to go somewhere else. You heard early in the season that the 76ers was trying their best to try to acquire a player like him. I mean, if I'm Elton Brand out there, I'm banging on his door right now at his house in Philly, because that's where Kyle lives at right now, to try to get him to this ball club. He's a veteran guy that can really lead the team. I do think that he is a missing piece to a team like the Sixers or even the Los Angeles Lakers. So I think that Kyle won't be with the Toronto Raptors next year. He will be on a contender, a team that can really take advantage of his veteran leadership.
Rip, I mentioned the Pelicans may be interested in him. That may be a very long shot, but let's talk about the Pelicans, because we got to talk about Lonzo Ball. He's an interesting case. He got his younger brother out there, LaMelo. He's on Instagram recruiting him, trying to get him to come to Charlotte. That may not be the case. He's 23 years old. That's it, even though he's the big brother. What is his worth now on the free agent market? And does he stay there with New Orleans?
Well, like you just said in the previous question, Amanda, why is the New Orleans trying to look at Kyle Lowry? So that says a lot for what they think of Lonzo Ball at the point guard position. I do believe Lonzo Ball had a really good season this year. Shot the ball better, especially from the perimeter. That was the biggest question mark for him. Can he be a knockdown three-point shooter? He definitely improved in that category, but he's a leader. I did think that the system that Stan Van Gundy was trying to run didn't fit his game. He needs to be in a high-paced team where he gets up and down the court, make plays. It will be great to see him play with his brother. I know his father has been talking about trying to get all three of the Ball brothers on one team. But I do think that this is a guy that really improved this season. He should be able to demand somewhere between the 15 and 20 million range. He's already making 11 million a year already. And again, Amanda, you got to remember, the money has changed. The average NBA salary is like $10, $11 million. So I do believe that he's going to get paid also.
Rip, thank you so much for joining us. Rest that voice. We know why it's hoarse. You're out there coaching your kids. You're yelling a lot, Rip Hamilton. Is that right?
Tea. I need some green tea.
You go get that. We're going to let you go now. Go get some green tea, rest the voice there. For your coaching now with your kids, he gets really into the games, if you didn't know there. Taking a look at some of the upcoming dates in the NBA. Of course, we got the draft. That is 1 week from today on the 29th. And then the very next thing we're looking forward to, the free agent negotiating window. That opens August 2nd. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.